Assalamu alaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be watching a video titled Falling in Love Led Me to Islam, REVERT Story. This is by Aisha Rosalie. So without further ado, let's watch.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. I'm joined with an amazing sister all the way from Ireland today. Her name's Karen. Introduce yourself for us, Karen.
Walaikum salam, sister. Yes, well, I go by Malika now. It's fine. You know, I get called everything, but yes, I'm here in Ireland, and I'm a revert to Islam, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. And I love the jilbab you're wearing.
Just like Malika.
I called it a baya earlier, and she was like, it's a jilbab, actually. I was like, okay, fine.
I'm saying anyway.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Okay, so you grew up in Ireland, which I know a lot about Ireland, a lot about Irish culture, so it's very interesting to hear your story. Were you religious before you became Muslim?
Yes and no. I guess growing up in Ireland, you know, we were raised in Catholic schools. We went to church, you know, we were baptized, made our communion, confirmation and all that. We didn't know what we were doing, we just followed suit, you know. You done what you were told, you went to church because you were told to. But in the house itself, we weren't really religious. My grandmother, when we were younger, took us, but it kind of faded out the older we got. So I wasn't really raised in a strict religious household, like, at all.
Did you kind of like believe in God? Did you find yourself asking God for things like that when you were growing up?
Yeah, I kind of always knew there was a God or a higher power. I did pray, obviously, in times of need, as we all did. I spoke to, well, I used to talk to my granddad who had passed over. Like, I'd pray and ask him to protect me because I always believed that he was like my guardian angel and stuff like that, because we were raised kind of believing that, you know, the spirits were still around us. So I did kind of have some sort of a, you know, belief there, but I just didn't have a foundation behind it, if that makes sense.
So interesting, because I remember as well when I was a kid, my older brother passed away when I was around 8 years old, and I did a very similar thing to you. I used to pray to him.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that. There's just something that I did, but it's something that's kind of in our culture, and I don't know why it's there, because even my mum and dad were okay with that. Like, they thought that was an okay thing to do.
Nobody questioned it.
Yeah, no one questions it. They're like, oh, I'm going to lay in bed and ask my brother to give me something, but he's dead. Why did we do that? Thinking about it,
No. I don't know. You know, the worst thing is, like, if I was, like, when I was growing up and I was doing something, like, kind of naughty or whatever, something I wasn't supposed to be doing, I used to always have this fear that my grandfather was, like, watching me, you know?
Same. Oh, my God.
Is this cultural thing or something? Is it island or something, or... Because to me that's weird.
That's so weird. Why does that happen? I don't know. MashaAllah. So how did you go from that to becoming Muslim? Like, what's your story? What's your journey?
Right, it's a long journey, but we have to leave a lot of details out, obviously. Long story short, I moved from Ireland over to Spain in 2015. I needed to try and start a new life because the life I was living was just going down the wrong road, and things were going from bad to worse. And over there, it actually it ended up getting worse. Things didn't go to plan, but Allah had another plan, and I didn't know that at the time. And just as I was really, like, on the verge of giving up everything and losing everything in the process, I ended up meeting who is now my husband. He was actually in Spain too. He's originally from South Africa. But he was overworking in Spain, and he was in a hotel that my family were staying in at the time, and they were performing a show there, an entertainment show, and I happened to go there and meet him, and he asked to speak to me afterwards, and my father was present, and everything that he said, he just spoke about himself, and I was like instantly attracted to him, and I don't know why, because I was not looking to be in a relationship at the time. And from that day we literally were inseparable, and he started to speak to me about Islam and about the deen, and the more he spoke to me, the more it was like, oh my God, I need to hear this. You know, everything he said to me was just touching me in the way that I can't even find words to express. And I'll never forget the day we're sitting in the room and he played the adhan for me on YouTube, and I literally broke down. Like, I cried like a baby in front of this stranger who I don't know. And immediately, like, I just knew that this is it. Like, this is what I need. This is my last hope, my last chance. I never felt that I needed to turn to God, like, in a way that I did in that moment. Like, I really felt I was being saved from something that I didn't even know what was about to happen. And I literally, from that moment, just knew, okay, this is what I have to do. Obviously, when I look back, it's kind of like, wow, you know, if I step back, it's like everything looks so bizarre. It happened so fast. People probably thought I was absolutely gone insane altogether because it just happened so quickly. And so I met him in like October, and I remember, and it's funny because thinking about this interview, right? I was thinking last night, and it only clicked to me after 6 years of being a Muslim. He was actually saying my Shahada with me every single night before I went to sleep. And I actually learned how to say my Shahada over the space of 2 months. I was saying it before I officially took it. And then I was just thinking, you know, I always celebrate that I took my Shahada on the 15th of January 2016. I was actually saying it from October, November, the year before. So I didn't even realize the power, you know, of what I was saying, the meaning, the true meaning that I actually had already accepted and embraced Islam. It's phenomenal. So since then, I actually, he was going to go back home in the January. And so we knew each other 4 months, and he didn't want to leave me behind. And he just said, look, I want to be with you, I want to marry you, but you know, if I'm going to get married to you, I can't marry you as a Christian or whatever. I didn't really have a label on me at that point. So I said, well, I've already accepted Islam, technically, you know, I've already embraced it. I gave up alcohol straight away. There was no question about it. I gave up all the haram things that I could at the time. And he flew home on the 14th of January, and then I flew to South Africa the next day by myself, and hadn't a clue where I was going, what I was getting myself into. And the same day I landed, I quickly...
Wouldn't that make like a template of a horror movie, if you know, you just take the details there?
had to go and buy my first abaya, my first hijab, because I didn't know what to do. And I knew I was going to take my shahada as soon as I got there because I wanted to make it official. And the sheikh was coming to the house to do it, and he said, look, I'm coming here anyways, you guys don't want to be separated, you want to get married, so why not let me marry you now? So I was literally, after flying 2 long-haul flights to South Africa, you can imagine I was so exhausted. I had a 7-hour layover by myself, and all I did was read the Quran on my phone because the place was like dead. And I'm arriving here and I'm told, okay, you're going to get married now. And I was just like, what do I do? So I literally sat at his kitchen table. His family rushed over. Some cousins and uncles was around. I had no one there that I knew apart from him. I took my shahada and I married him there and then. And that was it. Like, that is it. Isn't it crazy? Can you imagine me phoning my mom and be like, oh, by the way, I'm married? She was
So
like,
it's like, by the way, I'm Muslim. Oh, and I'm married.
you can just
Sure.
imagine the shock. Oh, gosh.
Awesome. But how does it feel now, 6 years on, looking back at that? Like, you've been Muslim for 6 years. How does it feel? Do you feel like it was the best decision you ever made? And then do you have doubts? Do you have regrets? Like, how do you feel looking back on that?
I cannot regret a thing I've done because, you know, Allah plans and He's the best of planners. And if I had have done anything different over the last 6 years, I wouldn't have become the Muslim that I am today. You know, we're all learning, we're continuously learning, we're continuously striving to kind of better ourselves for the sake of Allah. And when I look back, there's a lot of things that I question, like, why did I do that? Or I could have done something differently. Obviously, when you first embrace Islam, there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of, oh, do this and don't do that, and oh, this is haram and this is makruh, and it just becomes overwhelming, and you kind of get pushed away and you don't want to do it. You know, I was forced, okay, you have to wear the hijab, you have to do this, not by my husband, I'm talking about people around, other Muslims, you know, say. But then you step back and you're looking like, okay, but so-and-so is doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And then I started questioning things, and then I started doing my own research and finding out, okay, what is the truth and what is culture? You know, because a lot of the time culture gets mixed up and tradition gets mixed up with the deen of Islam, and that is what I've been learning at. And only since I came back home, I'm home now, actually 3 years this year, only since I came back home, I started like a whole other journey, because when I first came home, I started dressing immodestly again, back wearing gym clothes and stuff like that. Stopped wearing my hijab, even though I was only wearing it kind of part-time before, but I completely removed it. I kind of felt that, okay, I have to fit back into where I am now. And, you know, even though people knew I was a Muslim, nobody really sees me walking down the street as a Muslim. So I'm just going to dress how everyone else dresses, fit in. And I was like that for over a year. And then last year, it's over a year now, I'm stuttering, sorry. Over a year now, I just kind of, I kept making dua, and my husband kept making dua, and kept asking Allah to grant me that hidayah back that I had at the very beginning, because it was so strong. And alhamdulillah, I put on my hijab, and that was it. And then over like the last year or two, I've slowly been starting to dress more modestly, to the point where sometimes I do go out with my niqab on, I wear my jilbabs, I wear my abayas. I don't care what anyone has to say. You know, you get to the point in life where you realize no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're wearing, somebody is going to have something to say. So why not be yourself? You're doing it for Allah. You love yourself for the sake of Allah. You love your modesty for the sake of Allah. What anyone else says, like, it just doesn't matter. And that's the point where I've gotten, like, my iman has gotten so strong over the last year, but I had to step away from the culture and from the tradition and kind of find myself by myself, because it's been lonely. I have no Muslim friends around me. I have no Muslim family around. Come Ramadan and Eid, it's completely different. You know, you miss that. But at the same time, as I said, Allah knows why we're here. You know, He knows that I had to come here to find myself and be an inspiration for others. Alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah. It's an interesting story. You know, there's definitely ups and downs, meaning that because the trajectory of the story until the shahada and the marriage, right? You think that okay, but then she mentioned that after she come back, etc., it goes back, you know. So the struggle is real, I would say, and sometimes those who do not feel the struggle tend to be sometimes judgmental to those that is struggling. Instead of helping, we are putting pressure that is might not be helpful, right? So stories from those who go through, you know, episode like that, if because based on her story at the beginning and looking at her now, I thought it's just like straight away there, but she have actually her journey ups and down until she is what she is right now, right? So subhanallah.
Mashallah, you said so many amazing things there, honestly. You touched on some really you touched on some really amazing things, mashallah. But I want to know about your family. Like, how did they react when you became Muslim? What was their reaction?
Okay, honestly, at that time, because of the way I was living my life and the way my life was going, my mom just thought, oh my goodness, like, what is going on? What is she doing now? She's completely lost the plot. She's gone crazy altogether. We've lost her, like, that's it, she's gone. And then when I told her I was moving to the other side of the world, you know, that didn't help anything. After a while, she kind of realized, okay, this is really good. You know, they never thought my husband would be able to handle me, and alhamdulillah, he's the only one who's been able to keep me calm. He's the only one who stood by me when everyone else left, you know, and Allah knows why I needed him as much as he needed me. But my parents, like, they're fine. They were shocked, you know, everything was a shock. My whole life was a shock to them, but alhamdulillah, they're so happy now. They really are. They're genuinely happy for me. They love my husband like he's their own son. And yeah, I couldn't ask for anything more, really.
MashaAllah, that's amazing. What you were saying about your husband is very similar to how I feel about my husband, and just hearing you say it, I was like, yeah, my husband, like, is the only one who, like, stands by me, who's there for me, who gets me. It's amazing, honestly. It's really good.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. May Allah give you goodness in this life and the next. Ameen. Honestly, it's very inspirational, and I'm glad that this is one of the only channels that is going to be showing the story. It's a top secret story. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, interesting story. And the way that they see, meaning they share the experience with the husband. Yeah, I think it is very, very important to have, you know, the best person for you by your side. And sometimes, based on that story, I'm not sure what is the story from Aisha, how they met, etc. Right? Because if goes by, I forgot her name, the woman in blue here. How they met, etc. It's like, you know, but subhanallah, yeah, I can only say that from the perspective of making an effort, you know, make dua, put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yeah, do your best, inshallah, and hopefully Allah will grant us the best in this world and after, and the best partner that we can have, etc., etc. Because I think that is very, very important, you know, to be steadfast throughout the challenges. Alright, so that's the video, Falling in Love Led Me to Islam. Interesting story. Anyway, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.